everyone! Welcome to our BookTrib live chat. Today we are very lucky to have New York Times bestselling author B.J. Daniels here with us to talk about her new release, Wild Horses. This is the first book in her new Montana Hamilton series. Thanks so much for joining us, B.J. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thanks. It's wonderful to be here.
And we have the lovely cover behind us on both sides, which is great to see. I wanted to also let everyone know that after the live chat, we will be giving away copies of Wild Horses right here, plus some flat cowboys to enjoy. You can take some selfies with them. And for those who don't know, flat cowboys are the sexy cowboy equivalent to Flat Stanley, basically, if you guys remember that little book back in your childhood. So, BJ, before we begin our questions, can you tell us a bit more about Wild Horses?
Sure. It's the first book in a 6-book series. It's about the Montana Hamiltons. They're 6 sisters, and their father is a senator who is running for president next year. And I know for a fact that he might get elected. But a lot of problems. Each of the girls they've been raised, to have pretty much anything they wanted. And there's a lot of twists and turns. And each book starts with a story about each of the sisters. And then there's an overarching mystery about their father running for president, because there's a surprise in the book when their mother, who's been dead for 22 years, returns.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and what she's been, or what she's been up to, or why she's coming. So a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Time with it.
Cool. So the overarching mystery is the mother. That's awesome. So Dee wants to know, which Hamilton sister is your favorite so far? Which one speaks to you the most?
Oh, probably Kat. She is in book number 3. She is, the book is Lucky Shot, and she's kind of cantankerous and kind of hard to get along.
Yeah.
I think she reminds me a little bit of me. And I think
no way.
True. And I think that's she's the one who says what she thinks in the family. The rest of them are much more diplomatic. So, Cat,
right.
Lucky Shot. Yeah, that one comes out next October, I believe.
Cool. So we're looking forward to that one too. I just want to know a little bit more about the Hamiltons and the family dynamic, and kind of just more about the sisters. That's something that I found really interesting, was the whole family. Oh, and the stepmother too.
Yeah. Well, the sisters, it's really neat because the way they were raised on this huge ranch, and they were given anything they wanted, and and then suddenly now they're adults and they have to start figuring out how to do things for themselves. And their dad has always saved them, but of course when they fall in love with a man, he doesn't want dad. And so they have to do some growing up. And of course, like I said, they all get in trouble in one way or another. There's always a lot of that.
Right.
There's so many secrets in that family. I mean.
Right. Now, Delia is another character separate from the sisters. And Delia and Livy are very different characters, and they grew up right next to each other, but in different circumstances. So, we have a question from a viewer. Do you think Delia is justified in the way that she feels about Livy and the Hamiltons, or do you think she's maybe a little, judgmental of them? What do you think?
Well, I guess I understand that, because most of us did not grow up on a large ranch with a lot of money and everything we wanted. And Delia didn't. And I can see where, she experienced enough of it that she felt like she was one of the sisters. But when push came to shove, she was not. And even though Delia has going for her, I think there's a bitterness there. When you grow up next to so much money, I think it's probably really difficult to accept that you aren't getting what you want. Whereas the Hamilton girls have a much better chance of getting what they want, because they've got money and power behind them.
Now, Jessica has an interesting question. She says, do you know any affluent families in Montana that sparked the idea for the Hamiltons?
I grew up next door to a family that were very rich, and but it didn't affect me quite as much as it did my brother, who did not understand why we
Oh.
didn't have the same life. Why
Yeah.
weren't we like them? I know he really wanted to be one of the neighbors, which I mean is
Huh.
understandable because they were
Yeah,
raised like
that's
that. They had free reign, and we didn't. We actually had to be home at a certain hour, and we didn't have a lot of things at their house.
that's interesting. I'm glad that somebody asked that. Now, Bren wants to know a little bit more about the character Hitch McCrae, which she says, great name, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit about Hitch?
Oh, Hitch. I love Hitch. We met Hitch back. We met Hitch back in. Excuse me, my husband just came home with the 3 dogs. I'm not sure why.
That's okay.
But
We have dogs come into the mix all the time.
we met Hitch in the Bear 2 series, and Hitch is another one of those guys who never felt like he got what he wanted. I think there's a lot of people though that look at their lives and wish they had got something else, that there's something missing. And you look at someone else who seems to have it all. But with Hitch especially, he had a very domineering mother, and he took her for years, and then when it came time for the will, he found out he'd been cut out. And so that made Hitch into the guy that he is now. Yeah. Now, too, when you take up drinking, that can't go good.
Right, exactly. He's known as the town drunk, huh? Now, speaking of small towns, what's the allure of the small town? Because this is a central, setting for all your books. What do you think the allure is that people love about it?
Oh, I live in a small town now, a very small town, and I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is like I just came from the post office, and that's where everybody meets, at the post office, because our mail is not delivered. And so if you're looking for anybody, just hang out at the post office for a while. They'll show up.
That's awesome.
It's a simpler way of life. I mean, it really is a lot simpler. We don't have a stoplight. We don't have traffic. When you go to the treasurer's office to get your license plate, there's no line and no waiting. I mean,
oh wow.
Having lived in even a larger town, not that huge, I know what it's like to deal with the traffic and the people and all of that, and we don't have it. And people are very kind, and they watch out for each other, and I think that's a huge thing. If you're trying to cross the street, everyone will stop for you. Nobody ever closes a door on you, ever. Nobody would slam a door.
Oh, that's nice.
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the grocery.
That was actually. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I was wondering how it is there, and in your particular small town. And I feel like your stories are about small town characters who know everything or think they know everything about each other, but they don't really. There's a lot of secrets. So, I always wonder, in your small town, I'm sure there's secrets, and people know everything about each other. So it's an interesting, way to look at it in the book and in real life.
Well,
so you, yeah. Are there any crazy stories from your hometown? You're like, I can't tell.
But
I know, right?
It's like peeling an onion, kind of, because you'll learn something about someone, and then you'll learn a little bit more, and a little bit more. It's really interesting, but everybody has secrets. I love that aspect.
Yeah.
Because, people think they know you really well, like your husband or something, but they really. I mean, you don't. I'm sure you wouldn't keep anything from people, but
right. Never.
But I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best part of the book. So.
Yeah, everybody has it.
Now, you said that there's 6 books coming up, so how does that process go? Do you plan it ahead of time? Do you have every kind of like story laid out? Or do you just kind of go with the flow and the characters kind of come out of nowhere?
Boy, I wish I had it all figured out. That would be so nice. But no, I don't, unfortunately. When I started the first book, all I knew was there were 6 sisters, and their father, I didn't even know then he was a senator. So as it grew, and then when he started running for president, I was like, holy, what are we getting into now? That's the part of the writing process that I really love, because I don't have it figured out, and I don't know. And people are, of course, asking me a lot of questions about how it's going to end. And I can truthfully
Mhm.
say I'm not sure exactly how it's going to end. And
Mhm.
but that's the fun part is I don't want to know the ending
Yeah.
until I get there. And then I get goosebumps when I'm
Exactly.
typing and realize, oh my gosh, I know how it ends.
Yeah.
But it's
That
great.
must be exciting. You're like along for the exciting ride with the readers. That's really awesome. Now we have a question from Chelsea. She says, "What's the significance of the title Wild Horses? Is there a particular scene in the book that kind of conveys that, or?"
The hero he gets Mustangs. We have wild
Mm.
Mustangs in Montana and Wyoming that you can adopt.
Mhm.
And he's a
Oh.
fan of that. And so he has talked um, Senator Hamilton into adopting some wild horses, and then he trains them. Apparently, wild horses are wonderful. They
Mhm.
become wonderful riding horses if you can, if you break them, which is, you know, they are
Right.
wild, but they're really neat. They've been here a really, really long time, and there's a lot of mystique to them. And also the wild horse title. What I was thinking is the daughters. The daughters are all wild horses. They were raised on the ranch.
Mhm.
They all have to be reined in at some point. But what kind of
Right.
do you want, to rein you in? Most of us don't want to
Mhm.
be reined in. I don't.
Right. Exactly. Right. Um. Now, Clark has a question about just kind of keeping on track with deadlines. What are some ways that you keep on track and kind of deal with the pressure and just, keep the inspiration going?
Boy, it's tough, I'll tell you. And I'm at the point right now where I'm about to go on vacation, and all I can think of
Mm-hmm.
is going on vacation. When I'm asked to
Yeah.
do something, I have to really think. 'Cause it's like this is the end of my year, where now I take a break and I
Mm-hmm.
come back and I'm all ready to kick butt again. But right now, no. And it's hard because you have the deadlines and you have to meet them, but sometimes you don't feel real creative. You just your mind just kind of goes. And you do need a break. You absolutely need a break. So I hope my editors
Mm-hmm.
understand because I'm taking a break.
Right, absolutely. Louisa wants to know, what is the steamiest romance scene in the book without giving away too much?
Well, I like steamy. I don't like mushy apparently, but I do like steamy, and I've had some fairly wild love scenes in the book. Um, I can't give away much. I with cowboys, they oftentimes just grab you and kick the door shut, and you're off to the bedroom. But that's about all I can say.
That's awesome.
And let's do it.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Um, Now, can you tell us a little bit more about Lisa Ann Clausen and Carson Grant? Like, I don't want to give away anything, but those are two other characters that we have.
Well, Lisa Ann was in love with Carson Grant. Um, and for the people who haven't read Mercy, I have got some bad news for
Mm-hmm.
them. Carson's no longer with
No.
us. But
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Ann, I want her to find somebody. I really do because I think
Yeah.
she's really sweet. I think she was mistaken in being in love with Carson. He had too many problems. But I'm hoping there's somebody out there for her. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She deserves it.
Awesome. So maybe in the upcoming books we'll see her come together with someone.
It could definitely happen.
Um. Yeah. I have a question. So your books are set at the foot of the Crazy Mountains, which is an awesome name. And I started Googling, where the name came from, and there's a million different stories behind it. And I just think it's interesting. Why did you choose, the Crazy Mountains as the backdrop of the books? And what do you hear in your town about like the story behind the name? I find it really fascinating.
Well, I love the Crazy Mountains, and I always have. They are so beautiful, and they kind of just come
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and they're just gorgeous. I've taken so many photos of them.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They are, and they're just they're so remote once you get into the mountains. So
Mhm.
it's they're very isolated and very steep and very
Mhm.
craggy but the story I've heard I think 4 stories about how they got their name.
Yeah.
And one is that a woman back in the days of the stagecoach, not the stagecoaches, but the wagon train, that she wandered off and
Mhm.
got lost in them and went crazy. When they found her, she was crazy.
Wow.
There's that story. And then there's also the story that the Indians, the wind up there is so incredible, and the weather up there that the Indians. But there's, there's a couple other
Huh.
stories that the Indians, that wasn't the case, that the Indians went up there and that we got the idea that they were crazy. But I mean, the whole thing is crazy. But
Yeah.
I can understand how people are still getting lost in the crazies. Last year, a hunter got lost and was never found. They still haven't found his body.
Oh wow.
So I mean,
Oh
they're
wow.
really wild. They're wild mountains,
Mhm.
and they're close to civilization, and a lot of people go up there. And I mean, that you can get completely lost and nobody ever finds your body is pretty incredible. So,
Wow.
great,
It's a perfect backdrop.
what a great background. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. For romantic suspense, the dark, brooding mountains. I love it. Now, we have a question about movie star cast. So, Louisa wants to know who would play Livy and Cooper in a movie?
Oh, no.
I
Not prepared.
know, right?
I, I don't know a lot of the young actors. I don't, but it would have to be some guy that's pretty tough though, because Cooper,
Mhm.
he's strong. He's really strong, and that's part of the problem
Yeah.
that Livy have is that he is so strong, and he wants when she marries him that she's got to go with him rather than daddy. So
Mhm. What do you think first attracts them to each other in the book?
um, I think it's because he's so cute.
Yeah.
I think with him, he's out training horses, and he's this strong, independent guy, and I'm sure that was the appeal to Livy. Whereas
Mhm.
she did not want to get involved with her because she is, she has a lot of baggage by the fact that she is one of the Hamilton girls.
Right. Now, Dee has a question about some like past characters. What are some of your readers' favorite characters from present and past books? Are there any that they really gravitate towards?
Yes, the sheriff, Frank, the older,
Ah.
Frank, and his girlfriend, Nettie,
Mhm.
town gossip. Yes. Um, those are the characters I hear about the most, and I think part of it is people like to believe that you can fall in love even in your 60s, and
Mhm.
they do, of course, and they do finally get together. But they're a great match. They really are a great match. She
Mhm.
often finds out things he hasn't heard about, which really frustrates him as the sheriff, because Nettie has a way of seeing things. Yes, and she doesn't
Yeah.
go after it and find out. So I love those characters, and readers do too. And they're always glad to see him continue in the book.
Yeah. Is there ever when they say that they really love a character, is that a reason for you to keep writing about them? Has that ever happened, or did you just plan to write about them anyways? Is it ever influenced by your readers?
It is sometimes, but usually the characters I fall in love with, they fall in love with, and they're two
Right.
continuing good ones because he's the sheriff, and he'll always be involved in whatever is going on. And Nettie, of course, will always be
Right.
involved because she does like gossip. I mean, she's like,
Yeah.
so much that I think she just likes to know what's going on, which I don't blame her. I do too. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, we love that you write about Montana, and it's just the best setting, I think. But if you could choose one other place, where would you think you'd be interested in writing about? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, it'd have to be someplace I'd want to go. So I bet you it'd have.
You're like the Bahamas.
Wild, white sandy beaches, and there would be murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not Montana. It would have to be someplace tropical, I'm afraid. Yeah. Palm trees, like palm trees.
Right. Now, Chelsea has a question about the Hamiltons. Kind of like the family structure and how it's, there's a fairy tale element, or it kind of reminds you of fairy tale. So a little bit more about maybe their new stepmother. What's kind of her role in the whole book, and how does she treat the sisters, and
The
how is
sisters,
she with the father?
the sisters are all really close. The father,
Yeah.
I think the father is struggling because he's concerned about how he was as a father because he's always been in politics and he's been gone a lot, and so they kind
Right.
of help raise themselves in a way, um, and they really
Mhm.
haven't had anybody telling them what to do pretty much. Um, so I think there's that going on, and then the sisters are also different. So they're not going to they get along well, but they're still they're each individuals, and so you have that dynamic
Yeah.
going on, plus the father. But then you add in the mother who's been dead for 22 years, and
Mhm.
her story, because we don't know what her story is. So some of the daughters
Mhm.
really want to get to know their mother, and the younger ones,
Right.
they never knew their mother at all.
Yeah.
But some of them are real suspicious of her and real curious about what she's been doing. So they're going to be digging into
Mhm.
that, which is a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that element of it. It's interesting to see how certain people react without a mother figure in their life. Some people kind of just are okay, and then others want to kind of go back to the past, which I think is a really cool thing. Um, Dee has a question. She says, at this point, how many books have you written?
Oh, gee. Well, I lost count. I have sold over 80, and
Wow,
I think I've written 75, or getting no, maybe 72. You get to the point where you're just like,
that's amazing.
you
That's awesome. You lost track.
write one. People they're always surprised that you've written so many books, and it's like, well, you write one, then you write another one, and to me, it makes perfect sense. It's like, well, that's what I do, so I just write another one, and the next thing you know,
Right.
you've written 70 of them.
Yeah, oh my god, that's crazy. um, yeah. You're like, I just woke up one day and I had 72 novels under my belt.
What's
It's
going
amazing.
on?
Um, yeah. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, can you just talk a little bit about your background, like what you did before you started writing, and your whole journey through this? It's so amazing and just exciting to hear about it.
No, thank you. Well, my parents brought us to Montana when I was 5, and my dad absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
And so we settled here,
Mhm.
and we never lived in town. We always lived out in the wilds. So I had a lot of that growing up, pretty much just the run of the mountains. My brother and I,
Yeah.
we had creeks and rivers and big rocks and all kinds of wild animals. And back in those days, your mother, didn't know where you were 90% of the time, and then you'd show up when you got
Right.
hungry. That's kind of the way it worked.
Yeah.
So I had that background in a lot of camping and hunting trips, and just a lot of just growing up in Montana, and then later on, had different jobs, but I always wanted to write stories, always wanted to tell stories,
Mhm.
and I got a job at the newspaper, and I was a
Mhm.
journalist for about 20 years, and learned to write
Mhm.
and type and on deadline.
Yeah.
It was wonderful training, really good training. But I still wanted to write a book, so I
Yeah.
started writing short stories for Woman's World. Ended up selling over 40 short stories
Cool.
to them. They used to tell me to tone down
Mhm.
the adventure, but that's what I write. So they haven't been buying them. I think they got tired of me sending them in. But anyway, and then after that, I still hadn't written a book, and so I wrote my first book for Harlequin and Treat, Odd Man Out, which is set near where Selma, where I
Mhm.
grew up. So I grew up near the Yellowstone, and we
Cool.
had great fun. So
Now, does
yeah, write about what I
yeah,
do.
I noticed. Yeah. Now, Odd Man Out, does that hold kind of a special place in your heart? It was the first book of many.
Odd Man Out, yes, it definitely is. Just because I put in a lot of stuff that was from growing up in West Yellowstone. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff actually, some of it happened. Obviously, there were things that didn't happen, but quite a bit of it did.
Yeah. Now, we have another question about just inspiration for this story, Wild Horses. Was any part of it inspired by any films you've watched or books that you've read lately?
No, I have no idea where ideas come from. I think they come from outer space, and that we just. I have a friend who swears that, and I think it's true. And we just basically type
Yeah,
because it's just something that comes into your head.
yeah.
You have no idea why. Oftentimes, it's an idea that you're
Hmm.
thinking, "Why? Oh, please, not that idea." But I've learned to follow my instincts, and I've gotten this far by basically writing whatever pops into my head. That's probably
Right.
not what you teach people how to write, but that's how it works for me. And so when I'm asked, well, what are you going to do next? What's your plot for your next book? I have no idea. I often have just a little
Hmm.
teeny idea. Back in the old days, I might have the title, and that was all I would have. And
Yeah.
I follow my instinct. Years ago, I wrote a short story, and the hero started and he wouldn't quit limping, and I kept
Oh.
deleting it, and I'd write, and then he'd limp, and so by the time I got to the end,
Huh.
I understood why he limped, and so since then,
Hmm.
I trust myself. Well, I trust outer space, whatever it's sending. It knows best.
Yeah.
I go with it. Yeah, I just go with it. Yep. Snowboard's a lead.
Now,
They do. I think there's a reason. I just don't know what it is.
yeah, that's such a funny thing. It's like coming from somewhere. You're channeling something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm
Are there any? Hey, we're all a little crazy, right? Now, we have a question from Bridget, and she wants to know, I love Flat Cowboy. What is he up to these days?
She wants to know what? What does she
So
want?
what's he doing? She said, what is he up to these days?
Well,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, the guys were in Chicago a couple weeks ago at a conference, Love is Murder conference.
Oh, cool.
But now
Hmm.
they're in my suitcase, and we are going to the Bahamas. So I hope they brought their stuff.
Yes. Yes.
We are headed for.
He's in a very heavy coat, so he needs to dress appropriately. We have to have a talk with him.
We have to take off his food. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So they are going to the Bahamas, and then we'll see what adventures they have there. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, are there any books that you're reading right now that you're kind of into?
Hmm. Right now, I'm into Coke Zero. What?
That's what you drink when you write. Isn't that like one of your favorite things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You keep telling me it's going to kill me, but I got proof for it, so I'm kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Right
Right.
now, I'm working on an intrigue Laramie Cardwell story. He is
Oh,
the
cool.
brother of the cousins, and that'll be coming out next year or the end of this year. One or the other. Yeah.
So, yeah. Cardwell Ranch is very popular. So, how many of those have been written? It's quite a collection.
I think there's about 25. Yeah, I think.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right, no, maybe
So, just to yeah.
there's a lot of series.
Just
a lot of series.
now, as far as Montana Hamiltons, what's coming up next? Just to refresh our memory. And when is it coming out?
The next book in the Montana Hamiltons is
Mhm.
Bo's story, and that story is called Lone Rider, and it comes out in the 1st of August, end of July, 1st of August.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So it'll be fun. Another sister, another story, and of course the Crazy Mountains are involved. So it was a fun one. And then the one after that will be Cat and her story. So,
Awesome. Stuff to look forward to, guys.
fun.
So, do you have any bookstore events coming up? Anything to tell everyone about?
I do. I'm doing a book signing this coming Saturday at a place called Promises in Malta, Montana. So anyone who can get to Malta, Montana, come see me.
Yeah, absolutely.
People always ask where Malta is near, and I say nothing. It's not near anything.
The Crazy Mountains, but not even really near them. I'm sure it's off in the distance.
In the distance.
Yeah, right. Now, I'm curious. This is the last question I have, because we interview a lot of authors here, and people really find it helpful when they meet with other writers and kind of, come together. I know you live in kind of an isolated area, but is there like a writer community there, or do you go to a lot of conferences to talk with people and just,
I go to more conferences now because there aren't writers here. But
Yeah.
there are quilters
Yeah.
here. And I have to tell you, quilters
Mm-hmm.
are very creative. So I get all my creative feedback from quilters. As a matter of fact, I have to show you what I've been making. When I'm not writing,
Yes.
right now, I'm making baskets.
Oh, awesome.
But,
That's all out of fabric?
yeah. It's fabric and rope.
Cool.
Is that fun? I'm trying to figure out how to get it there. Okay. And this, I have to show
That's
you
beautiful.
this one, which is cool. There we go.
Oh, I love those colors.
And this one is my favorite. This is my favorite.
Yes.
So
That's fantastic.
it's great fun, and I just learned how to do this, so of course I've been going nuts. And so I don't have other writers, but I have this wonderful group of creative women who really inspire me. And quilting is, I've learned a lot like writing. You're putting the pieces together, and depending on the colors, things I make never look like anybody else's. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like I said, it's like writing. You can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah. That's awesome. So inspiring, so creative, and I want to remind everyone that after the live chat, we're giving away copies of Wild Horses, and we also have Flat Cowboys for everybody. So much fun. So so stop by the BookTrib after the live chat and enter to win. And it was great talking to you again. We always love having you on BookTrib.
It's always fun. Thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Thanks, BJ. Yeah.
Have a good day.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
You too. Bye.